Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I bring you Tutien's video. After the lively days of Tet filled with family reunions, when the reunion feasts had gradually grown smaller and the peach and apricot blossoms began to drop their final petals, the villages slowly stepped into the season of early spring festivals, a time both bustling and familiar, like the natural rhythm of the countryside after days of celebration. From early morning, when dew still clung lightly to the bamboo at the entrance of the village, the small stadium in the center of the hamlet echoed with footsteps, cheerful calls, and the loudspeaker announcing the day's program. Adults wore new clothes that still carried the fresh scent of fabric, children clutched a few small bills in eager hands, and groups of people made their way to watch football matches, join folk games, enjoy street snacks, and exchange warm New Year greetings. The atmosphere was not as noisy as the city, yet it carried a distinct charm, deeply rural, simple, close-knit, and filled with human warmth. Among the crowd, Tien and Jack quietly blended into the shared joy. They were not in a rush, nor did they push through the crowd, they simply walked side by side as they had done so many times along the familiar village paths. This year's women's football match did not draw as many spectators as the previous season, but the excitement remained unchanged. When the opening whistle blew beneath the clear spring sky, swift passes and determined runs instantly energized the field. Sitting next to Jack, holding a bottle of cold water, Tien watched each roll of the ball across the dew-dotted grass with focused eyes. She could not hide her surprise at how confident, skillful, and strong the female players were. Decisive shots and seamless teamwork made her laugh in delight more than once. Jack glanced at her and smiled gently, saying that to play that well, they must have trained regularly, undeterred by sun or wind. His simple remark stirred distant childhood memories in both of them. They once spent afternoons herding buffalo in the fields, barefoot along muddy paths, using a softened pomelo as a makeshift football, their laughter echoing across endless rice paddies. Back then, there were no stands, no roaring crowds, only the cool breeze and carefree giggles. Life was full of hardships, yet joy felt complete. Thinking of those days, a quiet warmth rose in their hearts, as if the past and present were softly intertwining amid the vibrant spring festival. After cheering for a while, when the sun climbed higher and the festival drums thundered from the game area nearby, Tien and Jack decided to stand up and weave through the crowd toward the snack stalls. The tangy, spicy aroma of pickled mango mixed with the savory scent of grilled sausages drifted through the air, tempting the senses even before the first bite. The sizzling oil, the vendors' lively calls, and children's laughter blended into a unique symphony of the village fair. Tien held a cup of spicy mango, savoring each bite and reacting to the heat with playful grimaces, while Jack laughed at her expression, half delighted, half overwhelmed by the spice. Standing together amid the passing crowd, they looked like any ordinary couple, yet in their eyes was the deep familiarity and understanding shaped by years shared together. As they passed a stall decorated with colorful stuffed bears, Jack teased her lightly, suggesting he buy her a new one to refresh the new year. The seemingly casual comment made her pause briefly before she smiled and shook her head. She told him that the teddy bear he once gave her was still intact at home, neatly placed on a shelf as a small yet meaningful keepsake. To her, what mattered was not the number of gifts, but the feeling of being cherished and remembered. Her words were simple, yet they were enough for Jack to realize that the modest things they shared were the most enduring. In the early spring afternoon, as laughter and chatter continued to echo across the stadium, Tien and Jack kept walking side by side. They left behind the lively sounds, yet carried within them a quiet peace that was difficult to name. Nothing grand was needed, just sharing the village festival atmosphere, reminiscing about childhood, and enjoying small moments together was enough to turn that first spring day into a beautiful memory, and a natural bridge to the stories that still awaited them ahead. While the spring festival at the village stadium was still alive with drumbeats, cheers, and the scent of street food drifting through the air, a different rhythm of life had already begun at the farm from early morning. Mother and Uncle Dung arrived before the sun had fully risen. Dew still clung to each row of vegetables, sparkling under the soft light of the new day. The two quietly divided their tasks, one harvesting greens, the other preparing the chicken, hands moving swiftly, yet their faces reflecting the rare calm of early days in the new year. The vegetable garden that Tien had devoted so much care to was now lush and vibrant. The cabbages were tightly wrapped and firm, their leaves hugging each other as if holding on to the breath of the earth and sky. Rows of fresh herbs released a gentle fragrance whenever a light breeze passed through. The sugarcane shoots had begun to sprout tender green tips, full of vitality. In one corner of the garden, the avocado tree was dotted with tiny clusters of blossoms, signaling a sweet harvest in the future. The more than 2 hectares of land that Jack had recently purchased still held many unfinished plans and dreams yet to take shape. Yet in this very moment, simply standing in the garden, watching the plants revive after Tet, seeing green spread across every path, was enough to fill the heart with a quiet but steady hope. Under the porch, a hot pot was already set on a charcoal stove. White steam rose steadily, carrying the rich aroma of long-simmered broth blended with ginger, lemongrass, and a gentle hint of chili for the new year. Mother rearranged the bowls and chopsticks with a satisfied smile. Uncle Dung carefully prepared more vegetables, arranging each plate neatly, as though every small detail contributed to the completeness of the first meal of spring. When Jack and Tien returned from the village festival and stepped through the familiar farm gate, the first thing they felt was not the cool spring breeze, but the warmth radiating from the kitchen. The cheerful calls, the bubbling sound of the hot pot, and the irresistible fragrance made them both smile instinctively. They changed clothes, washed their hands, and quickly sat down on the mat already spread out. No elaborate dining table was needed, just a woven mat in the middle of the house, a steaming pot of broth, and familiar faces were enough to create a perfect reunion. The family gathered around the hot pot. Handfuls of green vegetables were dropped in, slices of mushrooms and fresh shrimp slowly disappearing into the boiling broth. Steam rose, slightly blurring their eyes, but the laughter remained clear and warm. Mother lifted her glass to wish everyone good health in the new year, smooth work, and a family that would always remain harmonious and happy. Her voice was gentle, yet it carried the simple hopes of a mother. Jack responded softly, wishing Mother and Uncle Dung abundant health and a year of smooth sailing. The blessings were not ornate, only sincere and close to the heart, but they made the small house feel warmer than ever. Laughter mingled with the rising steam from the pot, creating an unforgettable scene. Outside, the spring breeze continued to pass through the orchard, gently swaying the newly sprouted buds. Inside, one story led to another, from daily work to the company's plans for the new year, from the Audi photos taken recently to unfinished dreams still waiting ahead. Each person contributed a few words. No one rushed, no one overshadowed another. Fulfillment at that moment did not lie in extravagant dishes, but in the simple fact that everyone was present, sitting in the same circle, sharing one pot of soup and one spring season. The first meal of the year was therefore not merely about good food or careful preparation. It was the reassurance of seeing loved ones healthy, the comfort of knowing there was still a place to return to. Amid the fresh air of the farm and the powerful green revival outside, conversations about work and future plans suddenly felt lighter. Worry seemed to step aside, making room for a very tangible sense of peace. Jack slowly shared that what he longed for most in the new year was not dramatic breakthroughs or dazzling achievements. What he valued was simply maintaining a life as modest and peaceful as this, seeing the garden flourish in the morning, gathering around a family meal at noon, and returning home each night with a sense of security. His words were quiet, yet enough for everyone in the house to nod in agreement. In the blossoming season of spring, on land filled with plans yet to unfold, that first meal of the year became a natural continuation of their story, a gentle transition from the lively joy of the morning festival to the warm reunion of the afternoon, and a steady foundation for the journeys that awaited them ahead. When the meal was finished, the dishes washed clean, and the stove left only with a lingering warmth, the whole family carried their chairs out to the porch. The early spring sunlight spread gently across the roof and the lush green rows of vegetables in the yard. The air after the meal became slower and more relaxed, as if everyone wanted to hold on a little longer to the warmth they had just shared. A plate of green pomelo was neatly sliced, each segment plump and fragrant. Its mild sweetness spread across the tongue, blending with the warmth of freshly brewed tea, soothing the heart. Sitting on the porch, they all gazed toward the garden slowly reviving after Tet. The slanting afternoon sunlight filtered through the leaves, shining on newly sprouted buds. Birds occasionally chirped somewhere nearby, mingling with the sound of wind brushing past the young sugarcane shoots. Mother slowly looked toward the avocado tree dotted with tiny white blossoms, her voice filled with quiet confidence that this year it would surely bear fruit. Her simple remark carried the hope of someone who had spent a lifetime tied to the land, to the seasons, and to the steady rhythm of change over the years. Tien listened and smiled softly. In that moment, she felt a gentle sense of relief settling into her heart. The lively noise of the morning festival, the laughter, the excitement, seemed to fade into the distance. What remained was not the bustle outside, but a sense of fullness right in front of her. She realized that happiness was not found in crowded places, not in applause or long celebrations, but in moments when the family sat together, shared a meal, raised their glasses for New Year wishes, and quietly watched their familiar land transform with the season. Jack sat beside her, silently listening to the conversation between Mother and Tien. He looked at the garden, at the healthy green rows of vegetables, then at the loved ones gathered around him. Without saying much, his eyes revealed his appreciation for these simple blessings. Beyond all the plans still waiting ahead, beyond the projects for the more than 2 hectares of land yet to be developed, this very moment was the strongest foundation of all. A peaceful afternoon, a warm cup of tea, sweet pomelo slices, and small but sincere conversations, together they formed a complete picture of spring. The spring breeze drifted through, carrying the scent of fresh soil and the faint fragrance of avocado blossoms. Spring would come and go, the festivals would eventually end, the drums would fall silent, and the stadium would return to its familiar quiet. Yet the warmth of that first meal of the year, of that afternoon spent on the porch watching the garden come back to life, would linger in each of their hearts for a long time. It was a gentle reminder that amid the busyness of work and the plans still waiting ahead, the most precious thing remained family, the presence of one another and a simple piece of a place called home. The stories of this spring will continue to unfold, just as the avocado tree quietly blooms, waiting for the day it bears fruit. If you enjoy following the journey of Tien and Jack, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch the next videos and continue sharing in the meaningful everyday moments that await them on the road ahead.
Xin chào mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Bữa nay thì ở đây chúng mình nó bắt đầu sang mùa hè như mọi người có thể thấy này. Trời ơi, cái tóc mái của mình nó bết kinh khủng khiếp luôn. Thì tí nữa sau khi mình làm xong video này thì mình sẽ đi tắm rửa gội đầu. Và như mọi người cũng đã biết là video hôm nay thì mình làm về tứ tiên và rắc. Và mình hy vọng rằng video hôm nay sẽ đưa đến những câu chuyện hay và ý nghĩa cho mọi người, cũng như là có thể giúp mọi người có những giây phút thư giãn sau những ngày làm việc mệt mỏi. Và nếu như mọi người yêu quý kênh của mình thì hãy đăng ký kênh và chuông thông báo lên để đón xem những video tiếp theo ở trên kênh của mình nhé. Bây giờ thì mình còn vài bước nữa là mình sẽ đăng tải lên. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều. Tạm biệt mọi người. Hãy like video, share video cho mọi người khác cùng xem nhé. Tạm biệt, hẹn gặp lại vào những video tiếp theo. Bye bye.